Yeah, baby. How do we make the rear end of this bike look as sexy as the front? Hello ride-on people. So today we're going to have a go at getting rid of this monstrosity. The huge bit of plastic that hangs off the back of the bike. I'm going to fit a Evotech Tail Tidy. This is a legal requirement because the bodywork has to be further than the rear wheel. I think it's a car thing really more than a bike obviously, but it looks absolutely awful, so we want to bring it up here. And I've never installed one before. I'm not much of a home mechanic, so believe me, if I can do it, anybody can, so we'll see how we get on. Got all the parts laid out. Didn't come with any instructions whatsoever. I've looked on the old interwebs, and there is a PDF out there with pretty pictures, no words, just pictures. So we'll see how we get on. So firstly, we have to remove these bolts. And when you've removed the bolts from the underside, you can pull the whole assembly out this way. That's this little metal bracket, slots up into a little rubber bung up here, and you just slide that down and the whole assembly slides off, and then you can disconnect this connector here. So when the connector's in its housing, you've got a little window there. Just put a flathead screwdriver into the window, pushes down on this part of the connector, and then they just pop apart, very easy. Next job is to pop off the tag plate or number plate. You can always take that off before you start the job, or take it off now. And then we're looking at taking out these 4 screws, 2 here and 2 here. And then when you've removed those bolts or screws, you can just flip that whole cover off. So then you end up with 2 sections, simple as that. So next you need to unsnip this connector here, just to free up the cables. Okay, so the 2 parts simply come apart just with a prise screwdriver. You'll see the indicators, the turn signals just fall off then. It's a good opportunity now to mark these up, left up, right up, and also which cables, R for right, L for left. It'd be amazing how many people get that back to front when they do an install. Next you want to get one of these oval inserts and one of these inserts. And the threaded side of this needs to be facing the indicator, the turn signal. You see, you slot one in there, and then you put in this half curve here. So when you finish, it should look like that, with flush thread on this side, and the 2 collets forming a cover or clamp on both sides, and they're loose at this point. Now Evotech provide stem extenders if you live in a country with a big tag plate, but fortunately in the States we have small tag plates, so I'm kind of hoping they're not going to be required. Okay, so this is where labelling what side and up and down your turn signal comes in handy. You want to get this bracket, and you want to have the pointy bit pointing towards the bike. And then obviously your turn signal, if that's the front of the bike, that's going to be my left, and that's going to be the up. And then you feed the cable through here. You push in these collets or brackets into here, so they're nice and snug. Then Evotech give you a couple of Allen bolt options. So I've come across a slight problem when doing this one. Inside here is a bolt that holds the actual indicator onto the housing. And when I'm trying to screw this on, that's as far as I can get it before it starts pushing the indicator physically out of its rubber housing. So what I'm going to do, because I want to get the job done today, is a little bodge. It's a little spacer, just something I had hanging around in my workshop, and I'm going to slot that in between the bolt and the base, nip it up, and hopefully that'll be good. Doesn't look like I need much room in there in order to clamp the whole thing up, so hopefully we'll be good with that kind of workaround. Okay, so that has worked a treat. Got my little blocky spacer in there, and it's not going to interfere with anything. There you go, something to be aware of if you've got a Streetfighter V4 S and you're doing this. Maybe you'll run into the same problem, so just be aware you may need a plan B. Okay, next up you get this this bracket here and slide it onto the tail light, and you fit these tiny little kind of 7mm bolts. So you need a small spanner for that, or a very small socket, and it's a bit of a snug fit, but you can get them on. Next you want to put the tail light up to the tag plate holder and just put the bracket on top, put the M410 single bolt through and just attach it, but don't tighten it at this point. Right, starting to get there. So this logo should be on the inside towards the wheel. This is your brake light, or stop light rather, tag light even. And then remember, these stickers come in handy. So you've got these the right way up, and then you basically marry the two up, which is difficult to do on camera. So it should hang together something like that. And make sure the bolts align with the holes here and the holes there, and then it can be bolted together. Right, now you can screw the turn signals on, and you see that little lip. I don't know if the camera will pick it up. There's a tiny little lip there. There you go. It needs to go underneath the section holding on the turn signal. Now, making sure your wires are nicely routed through there, you can screw the other side on. Okay, next you need to put on this little connector lead, and it has little bullet connectors, and I found mine were a little bit loose, so I nipped them up with a pair of pliers, and just make sure they're very secure before fitting to the bike. So remember our cable hanging out of the tail unit, which is our tag light connectivity cable. We've got the whole assembly now all here with the bullet point connector on. Now we're going to go back to our original wiring here and connect the main block up to the tag light, and then this will go down to the tail light here, and then your other two leads are for your turn signals. And remember, I've indicated which are which in terms of right and left. Okay, so we plugged it all in, wired her up nicely. Let's turn on the dash and hope for the best. Turn signal left, turn signal left, turn signal right, turn signal right. Do we have illumination beneath our tag? Yes, we do. Good job. Get rid of this spaghetti of a loom up into this tiny crevice up here somehow, fit it all up there, and then bolt it in situ. So there she is, all snugged up, and it's a complete utter bitch to get all the electrics back into behind here, so you have to be very careful not to pull any connectors apart or squish any wires. And then this part at the top here slides upwards, and it requires quite a bit of force to slide it up, and you've got to keep the bottom very flush with this, with the under tray, to make sure it doesn't protrude and produce any gaps that water ingress could get into. And then you tighten them up, recheck everything, and you are good to go. So you can put on your tag plate again, but it looks significantly better, I think you'll agree. That is so much better, so much sexier. Exactly how it should have been right from the get-go. But of course, the fun zealots wouldn't have you do that. So there you go, Evotech Tail Tidy. If a numpty like me can do it, then anybody can do it, to be honest with you. It took me a couple of hours in between having lunch and something to eat rather, and neighbours dropping by and cups of coffee, but if I was doing it again, I could probably do it in half an hour. I just feel a bit more comfortable. I'm not usually very good with electrics, not that there's too much to do here, it's all plug and play. But yeah, if I can do it, anybody can do it, so attack it with confidence and make your bike look sexier. Final thing to do is check your turn signals front and rear and your brake lights. Just make sure there's no problems introduced. Then also your dashboard, make sure you've got no error warnings or signs or anything like that. But it's all straightforward, no problem for me. And the Streetfighter V4 S looking absolutely gorgeous. Ride often, ride carefully, ride on.